What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. In this video, we are going to be covering conditional protocol extensions, and we're going to be going over how they can help us write cleaner, safer code. So let's go ahead and start with a quick refresher on protocols, guys. So I'm just going to copy and paste a simple example here of a protocol and two classes that adopt that protocol and implement a particular method. So here we have a protocol called playable, and it has two functions, play and pause. Then we have a music player and a video player. And we'll see that each one of these structs conforms to this protocol and has its own unique implementation of those functions. And if you guys are struggling with that concept, we have a video that breaks down protocols much more in depth that is part of our intermediate and advanced fundamentals course in Swift. Both of those links are available in the description. But let's go ahead and just continue with our implementation of this example really quickly, guys. If we have a music player and a video player, we would then be able to go here and create a list and implement these two things, and it would look like this. And we're going to have a button to play our music and to play our video. And if we keep an eye on the console, I hit play music, it says music is playing, video is playing. So that's a pretty basic protocol example. So guys, this is great for when you want each component that implements your protocol to have a different implementation of those functions. Obviously, a music player is going to have different functionality than a video player. But what would happen if we wanted one of these functions or both of these functions to have the exact same implementation across the two different components? Well, then we would have a lot of copy and pasted code. So let's see what that would look like. Imagine pausing was exactly the same in this theoretical example. So we could just say, like, pause player here or something. Pause player. And we copy and paste that here. So this just simulates an example of where two functions have exactly the same implementation, but we're copy and pasting code across these two components. So guys, what if this function was 100 lines of code or something, right? This would obviously become really bad code, and we want to keep it dry, or don't violate that don't repeat yourself principle. And that's where protocol extensions come into play. We could say extension playable, and we could implement this pause function on an extension of the protocol. That way, both of these functions won't have to implement it. So we could say func pause. Let's just go ahead and copy and paste it. And guys, then we would be able to delete this here and delete this here. And we'll notice that everything will still compile because the function is implemented in this extension here. And guys, I could go here and say pause and pause. And you guys will notice that in my console, everything should be good to go, right? So that's what it would look like if two functions have the same implementation in a protocol. You can just extend the protocol, implement the function there, and then both of those functions can access that so we don't violate that DRY or don't repeat yourself principle. So this makes our code a lot more reusable and scalable. So protocol extensions ultimately give us a way to write the implementation once and reuse it across all conforming types. So this brings me to the main point of this video, guys, which is the concept of a conditional extension on a protocol. So let's go ahead and implement another example here and see how conditional extensions are going to help us out with these protocols and ultimately help us write better, more safe code. So I'm going to copy and paste this code in here. We have three things: a user structure, a post structure, and a protocol called serializable. So let's imagine we want to be able to serialize these objects and view their raw JSON data. So we would then make both of these types conform to the serializable protocol, like so. And we would notice that each one of these functions has to implement this these structures has to implement this serialized function, and it would look like this, right? We get the data, and we also need to make sure we add codable conformance here, so that we could encode the data. Then we convert it to this JSON string using this string constructor with UTF-8 encoding. And if that fails, we just return a blank JSON bracket. And we'll notice that this implementation of the serialize function is the exact same between the user and the post struct. So guys, that's where a protocol extension would come in, as we saw in the last example. So let's go ahead and see if we can do that so that we can reduce the amount of boilerplate code that we have. So we'll say extension serializable, and we will just copy and paste the implementation of this function, and we'll be able to delete the implementation from the conforming structs. But we notice that our compiler is going to give us an error. So you're going to see that instance method encode requires that self conform to encodable. So on this extension, guys, we are going to add a where clause. So we're going to say where self is encodable. And you're going to notice that that allows our error to go away. So this extension now provides a default implementation of this serialize function only for types that conform to the encodable protocol. So you guys will notice, like, if I delete codable here and try to conform to the serializable protocol, you'll notice that it doesn't conform to this protocol, right? So I have to make sure that I add the codable conformance, and this just adds more type safety constraints on my code. So we could go down to our view body really quickly and see what this would look like. So I could go ahead and paste in some more sections here for deserialized users, and let me go ahead and just paste some mock users in here. And we can see what that would look like. So these are the user names, and this is the raw serialized data. So ultimately, adding this where clause allows us to add functionality only where it makes sense, or only under certain conditions or types that conform to certain things or meet certain requirements. So guys, what are some real world practical examples that you could use this with? Well, I have some examples here. We could use this for caching or data persistence, where you have functionality that is the same across multiple classes for like saving or getting data, and you could combine that with generics as well. Same thing with networking. And in a follow-up video to this, I'm going to be making a video with how you can use this for UI components like button styles, label styles, and picker styles to customize your SwiftUI components more cleanly and safely, guys. So thanks for watching this video. That's going to wrap it up. Make sure you like and subscribe to the channel, hit that notification bell, and guys, make sure you check out the website if you guys are serious about leveling up your skills as an iOS developer. Whether you are trying to get a job or release an app to the App Store, we have something here for everybody. Fundamentals courses, Pro app clones, and our highest tier of applications, which is Pro Plus app clones, which teach you guys how to build production-ready applications that can handle millions of users. And if you guys sign up with us and become a member, you can get access to all of the Pro content and fundamentals courses for that low monthly cost of less than a coffee a day. And guys, we get results here at App Stuff. Our students are working at companies like this. And if you want to take your career to the next level, this is the only place to be for iOS development, man. So make sure you check the website out, guys. And once again, make sure you like and subscribe to the channel if you want to see more content like this. I got a ton of awesome stuff on the way. I'm currently working on an interview prep course that's going to help you land a job as a senior iOS dev, guys. It's going to include things like system design, data structures and algorithms, take-home interviews, and a bunch of other awesome stuff. So make sure you keep an eye out for that course. Make sure you join our email list to get notifications. And just like I said, subscribe to the channel to stay up to date with everything that we're releasing here at App Stuff, guys. So thanks for watching this one. We'll see you in the next one. Peace out.